What is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team half PPR mock draft from the 5th overall spot on Sleeper.com. The roster settings for today's video is going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end flex, kicker defense, and 6 bench spots. Inside of today's video, I'll be going in depth into my thought process behind every single pick that I make in the draft, as well as discussing the other picks going on around me, so you guys can get a good idea on how I feel about the draft overall. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into this draft from the 105 in a half PPR 12-team league. So yesterday, we actually did a number 1 overall draft, so first overall pick in a 12-team PPR draft. We took Jonathan Taylor. Things are very different when you go from the number 1 overall spot to the number 5 overall spot, because now you don't get those back-to-back picks. When things swing back around in the second round, when you're the first overall pick, you get the 212, but then you get the 301. You get those back-to-back picks. Here, you're kind of just sitting in the middle, and other people are kind of able to dictate the draft, so you have to kind of be a lot more locked in my opinion, when you're in the middle of the draft, because things keep coming back to you, whereas when you are sitting at the beginning of the draft or at the end of the draft, you can kind of loosen up a little bit, because you know when the draft is going to be coming your way, you are able to make 2 selections. So we are going to be starting up the draft here. Let me know down below in the comment section, where is your guys' favorite place to draft this year in fantasy football? Do you prefer to draft maybe the first 3 picks, the middle, or the last 3 picks of the draft? In my opinion, I've always liked to pick towards the end of the draft, but you can win your draft anywhere. You can win your league drafting anywhere. Not everything comes from the draft, right? You got to win your league by making these waiver wire moves, by making these trades, by setting the correct lineups every single week. So the draft isn't 100% the reason why you win your league. So we will begin with the draft. It begins with Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, and Christian McCaffrey. I will tell you guys, though, that I do believe that in a majority of drafts, probably 95% of drafts, Jonathan Taylor will be the number 1 overall pick. There will be some people that do take Derrick Henry, that do take Christian McCaffrey. I understand it, but I would probably go Jonathan Taylor if I was number 1 overall, and I did in yesterday's mock draft. So we are now up on the board here, and this is where you have to make a decision, because you are either going to be going wide receiver or running back. Normally, in prior years, if you were a top 5 pick, you're basically going running back every single time, but now it's definitely a lot more open at the wide receiver position. We have Cooper Kupp, who just absolutely fucking dominated in fantasy football last year. We got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, 2 guys that were excellent last year as well. My pick here, while I normally would go running back, I think the fact that Cooper Kupp fell to the 105, I just have to be taking him here. He is just super safe. The LA Rams offense is going to be amazing yet again. I am very confident in Cooper Kupp. They bring in Allen Robinson. Not much of a big deal at all for Cooper Kupp. He should still finish as the number 1 guy, and if he isn't the number 1 wide receiver, I would be fucking shocked. Completely shocked if he wasn't a top 3 wide receiver at the end of the season. So after we go with Cooper Kupp comes Austin Eckler, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, and Deebo Samuel. To talk real quick about Alvin Kamara, knowing what we know right now, and he's probably going to get suspended 3 to 6 games, there is no reason, in my opinion, you should be drafting Alvin Kamara in the 2nd round. Can you draft him in the 3rd or 4th round? Definitely. But in the first 2 rounds, I am staying away from Kamara, because I don't want my 1st or 2nd round pick suspended for the first potential 6 games of the season. So after we went with Cooper Kupp now, looking at the board, the running backs are Javonte Williams, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott, Cam Akers. Looking at tight end, only Travis Kelce has came off the board, so Mark Andrews is available. Looking at quarterback, only Josh Allen has been taken. In terms of 1 quarterback fantasy football drafts, I think it is downright ridiculous to draft a quarterback in the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th round. I think the only time I'm comfortable where I start to feel open to drafting a quarterback is in the 5th round of the draft. So I will not be going quarterback here. So it's either going to be running back, wide receiver, or tight end. I think at this point in the draft, my favorite pick would be to get Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is at one of the positions where it is pretty difficult to find a top 5 guy if you aren't drafting one of the top 5 guys. It's pretty difficult this year to reach down and draft one of those late round tight ends and expect that crazy value. Now, can you draft late round tight ends? That's what I do a majority of the time. But I do not believe that drafting that late round tight end is going to guarantee me a lot of value game in and game out, whereas I feel like Mark Andrews could easily outscore Travis Kelce just like he did last year. So here we are going to go with a tight end over going to running back. I know the people that have watched me talk about fantasy football for a while, this might be a little absurd because normally I am very running back heavy early on in the draft, but I feel like there are enough running backs that I'm fine with in the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th round that I am fine waiting here, especially to get such an elite wide receiver in Cooper Kupp and a tight end that I think could be the #1 tight end in all fantasy football in Mark Andrews. So after I go with Andrews comes Javonte Williams, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Aaron Jones, AJ Brown, Leonard Fournette, Justin Herbert, the pervert, and Mike Evans. Kyle Pitts would have been available here for us, but I definitely like Mark Andrews significantly more than I like Kyle Pitts, and I actually have Darren Waller ranked ahead of Kyle Pitts right now. So if I didn't take Andrews, I probably would have sent a prayer to the fantasy football gods and hoped that Darren Waller came back to us in the 4th round. So here we're going either running back or wide receiver. No need to go with the quarterback position. Keenan Allen still available. Ezekiel Elliott, Cam Akers, T. Higgins, James Conner. We are only starting 2 wide receivers in this league and a flex, so that could potentially move my decision. Ultimately, though, it will not, as I feel like the best player on the board right now is Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen is still the clear #1 wide receiver on that LA Chargers offense. The LA Chargers offense was phenomenal last year with Mr. Justin Herbert, the pervert, and I think things are going to get even better in 2022. I love this LA Chargers offense. I want to go ahead and snag their #1 wide receiver. To me, it is a no-brainer pick over here in the 3rd round. So after we go with Keenan Allen comes David Montgomery, Patrick Mahomes, Ezekiel Elliott, T. Higgins, Cam Akers, George Kittle, me Timbers, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, Breece Hall, Kyle Pitts, Antonio Gibson, Josh Jacobs, James Conner, and Darren Waller. If you draft Antonio Gibson in the 4th round, now I know I did kind of discuss this in yesterday's mock draft. In my opinion, you have a hole in your head. Do not draft Antonio Gibson in the 4th round. If he falls to the 6th, the 7th, the 8th round, then yes, I'm going to take a shot on him because I believe that he is very talented. The issue with Antonio Gibson is not him. It is 100% to do with the coaching staff. I don't believe that Riverboat Ron believes heavily in Antonio Gibson. I think there's going to be a committee system again. I think Antonio Gibson is going to get hit by the 619 Rey Mysterio of J.D. McKissick, and Antonio Gibson is going to fail you drastically if you draft him in the 4th round. Now, in underdog, he goes a lot later than that. So in underdog drafts, I have drafted him, but in the 4th round, I think that is a little bit obscene. So we're back up on the board here. Our team so far, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, and Mark Andrews. We do not have a single running back on the team, but that is going to end here. I do like DK Metcalf, not necessarily in the 4th round. I'd prefer him in the 5th round, but I'm starting to lighten up a little bit on DK Metcalf. While I don't believe that horsecock Drew Lock is going to have this fantastic season, I think DK Metcalf could potentially overcome that just from his pure basic skill set, that he's just so fucking good that it's not going to matter if Drew Lock is bad. But maybe I'm wrong on that because it's not like DK Metcalf was super elite when Geno Smith was playing, so it is a little bit concerning. I like Jalen Waddle. Obviously, he's going to be the #2 Miami behind Tyreek Hill, but I think he still has some upside. Wiki DJ Moore does now have Baker Mayfield. To me, that is definitely an upgrade over Mono Man Sam Darnold, but we are going to go with Travis Etienne. If James Robinson ends up returning at some point in this season, I would basically be shocked. I really don't believe that he is going to return. He got hurt in either week 17 or week 16. Based upon the injury that he got, it would seem almost impossible for him to come back and be fully healthy early on the season. ETN is going to be a monster in the pass catching game. Trevor Lawrence checks the ball off like it's his fucking job. This guy loves dumping off to the running back position. Travis Etienne is in the perfect spot for success in his 2nd year in the NFL. In reality, this is basically his rookie year because he didn't play at all last year with Urban Meyer because he got hurt in the preseason. Or if it wasn't in the preseason, he got hurt prior to the season even starting. So he didn't play at all last year. He avoided that Urban Meyer disaster, and now he's ready to roll week #1. I expect Travis Etienne to really dominate at this ADP. The 4th round is way too low for ETN. I think his ADP is going to end up moving. After that, we see DK Metcalf, J.K. Dobbins, Lamar Jackson, Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow, Jalen Waddle, Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman, and DJ Moore. Michael Pittman in the 5th round is chef's kiss, magnifique. I would love to get Michael Pittman there with the amount of upside that he has. Looking back at the running back position, we do only have Travis Etienne, but things here is where it starts to get a little worrisome. I like Elijah Mitchell. I think people are sleeping on Elijah Mitchell because we all know what could happen to Elijah Mitchell, and that is that Kyle Shanahan kind of just pushes him to the side. Tyrion Davis-Price starts playing. Some other random running back you've never even heard of starts playing running back for the 49ers. That could happen. I think people are a little bit nervous about Elijah Mitchell, and I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous as well. I think the upside's there, but I'm definitely nervous. Looking at wide receiver here, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, Allen Robinson would be my picks here. Not going to go Allen Robinson because we already have Cooper Kupp, so we are going to go ahead and draft Jerry Jeudy here. I did take Courtland Sutton in the last draft. My humble opinion is that Courtland Sutton will outscore Jerry Jeudy. I think Courtland Sutton has more of that big body type that Russell Wilson is going to love to feed the ball to, but I could be wrong. I will admit that not everything I'm going to say is going to be 100% correct. Shocker, right? Some guy that talks about fantasy football on the internet is not going to be 100% accurate. No one is going to be 100% accurate in terms of fantasy football, so I don't think you should go over exaggerated and just draft Courtland Sutton every single time. I do believe if you guys play in multiple leagues, you shouldn't just be drafting the same players in every single league, because while if you get everything correct, then you are going to fucking dominate those leagues. But again, you're not going to get everything correct. Some of these players are going to end up being busts. So make sure that you kind of diversify who you are drafting in these drafts. So right now, our team is comprised of Travis Etienne, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews, and Jerry Jeudy. After I went with Jerry Jeudy, came Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Courtland Sutton, Shortman, Kyler Murray, Hollywood Brown, Elijah Mitchell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mike Williams, Brandon Cooks, TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Schultz, Miles Sanders, and Kenneth Walker. Before we get on into my next pick, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor of today's video, and that is going to be Underdog Fantasy, which you can see above me and pointing at right now. Underdog Fantasy is the single best place to play fantasy football this summer. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament has $10 million in total prize money, $2 million to the winner. All you got to do is draft your team, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Underdog will automatically give you the best, highest scoring lineup from the players you have drafted every single week. My favorite part about fantasy football is the draft. I love doing these mock drafts. I love talking about the draft. And then you don't even have to worry about calling up your friend Jim from the office, your friend from home. You don't have to worry about trying to wheel and deal these trades. You don't have to worry about sitting on the waiver wire on Tuesday night, fucking ready to just hate everything because you got to sit there for 2 hours trying to sift through a million leagues. Nah, you don't have to worry about that. There's no waivers on there. The computer will automatically be setting your lineup for you. Last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted their team in June, so there is no need to wait. You can use promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, for a $100 first match deposit bonus, which is good for 20 entries into the Puppy Tournament or 4 entries into the Best Ball Mania 3 tournament. Again, promo code AWESEMO. Either you can click it on the link in the video description, you can manually type it in yourself, and it might be in the pinned comment as well. So please make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy. I'm on there all the time, and if you see me in a draft with you, make sure you tweet at me. Be like, Nick, you made a terrible pick, you fucking idiot. That would be very funny to me. So make sure you guys do check that out. So we are back up on the board here. The running back room is looking very dicey here. I don't think we need to necessarily reach on a quarterback. I'm fine taking Matthew Stafford later on to kind of, link him with Cooper Kupp, or I'm fine drafting a guy like Russell Wilson in a couple more picks and link him with Jerry Jeudy. So I'm not overwhelmingly pushing things to draft a running back or a quarterback here. So I'm just going to draft another wide receiver. And since I'm pretty confident in the wide receiver core that we have right now, I'm going to do something that I would not typically do if I draft a bunch of running backs, but I'm going to draft DeAndre Hopkins because I'm going to be able to put him in the IR spot in my league. I understand, Nick, he's not going to be there for the first 6 games. It is what it is. It is what it is if he's not there. Well, he's not going to be there, right? He's definitely not going to be there because he's suspended. But after those games, DeAndre Hopkins is a potential top 10, top 5 wide receiver, game in and game out. But Nick, they traded for Hollywood Brown. I'm not worried about Hollywood Brown at all once DeAndre Hopkins has returned. I think DeAndre Hopkins is still the clear number 1 wide receiver on the team. And then Once he comes back, you just take him off the IR, you throw him in there. And the best part about having him on the IR is after the draft, you can just pick someone else up. I understand maybe some people don't want to do this strategy, but I think based upon the team that we have constructed, we already have 3 wide receivers ahead of him. I am perfectly fine drafting DeAndre Hopkins in this situation. Let me know your guys' thought process when it comes to drafting a player that is suspended like DeAndre Hopkins. In the situation with the team that we have constructed right now, would you have personally went that way as well? So after we went D-Hop, came Jalen Hurts at the 6.9. Very nice. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Adam Thielen, Dallas Goedert, Damian Harris, A.J. Dillon, Kareem Hunt, and Treylon Burks. We are back up on the board here. The running backs here, they are a little bit dicey. I hope Devin Singletary falls back to me, but Devin Singletary has been moving up draft board slowly, so I'm not sure if that will end up happening. Here, I'm also pretty interested in Cordero Patterson. Now, they do draft Tyler Algier, rookie running back. He's not necessarily this first, second-round pick, so I don't think there's too much to worry about there, but he could end up being the lead back there. The Atlanta wide receiver core is better than last year because now they have Drake London and Kyle Pitts last year. They barely even had Calvin Ridley. I think Cordero Patterson could still step up and play big, so we're going to draft Cordero Patterson here. He's not a player that I love, but I think there is still a chance that Devin Singletary or Chase Edmonds, 2 of my favorite targets here in the 8th, 9th round, could be available for us to pick. So after I go with Cordero Patterson comes Dickie Dak Prescott, Darnell Mooney, Juju Smith-Schuster, Russell Wilson, Gabe Davis, Tampa Bay Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Chris Olave, Drake London, Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Rashad Bateman, and Elijah Moore, both of the New York Jumbo Jets wide receivers. Shout out to the Cougar Hunter himself, Zach Wilson, who allegedly had intercourse with his friend's mother. What a storyline that is. What a storyline. So we're back up on the board here. Matthew Stafford could be the pick here, but we do not necessarily have this great running back core, so I'd rather just punt the quarterback position, wait a little bit later, not necessarily needing to stack my quarterback with my wide receiver here in a redraft league. So we're going to go with Devin Singletary, a guy who really, if we look at his stats, he really caught on towards the end of the season and started putting up some solid numbers. I think that in 2022, we see Devin Singletary continue to be the lead back on the team. James Cook will have some involvement. It really just depends how good Devin Singletary is to how much that is going to affect the usage of James Cook. So after we went ahead and went with Devin Singletary comes Tony Pollard, Dawson Knox one time if you are with me, Hunter Renfrow, James Cook, Brandon Ayuk, Zach Ertz, Chase Edmonds, and Roberto Woods, Mr. Bobby Trees. So we are up on the board here, and one of the guys that I wanted fell back to me. I like Rashad Penny a ton this season. I think people are kind of sleeping on Rashad Penny because of the fact that they draft Kenneth Walker. And people love that new blood. They love to draft the rookies. Everyone loves the rookies because there's the unknown when it comes to the rookies. Kenneth Walker could come in and fucking waffle stomp down Rashad Penny and become the number 1 running back on the team. Is that possible? Yes. Has Rashad Penny dealt with injuries in the past? 100%. But I really believe that I really believe that gum-chewing fuck Pete Carroll doesn't believe that just because I drafted you pretty highly, that I have to play you. He doesn't believe that. He believes in starting the best player possible. He does not care about draft position. So I think that he's going to continue to ride the horse, metaphorically, of Rashad Penny. But I do want to go quarterback here. I think we're going to be fine with this group of Devin Singletary, Travis Etienne, and Cordero Patterson. So I want to go ahead and get my quarterback. I'm going to draft Mr. Matthew Snapback, Matthew Stafford, and link him with Cooper Kupp. They were a great connection last year. Matthew Stafford doesn't really have this crazy rushing upside. He doesn't really have any rushing upside, right? He's not Trey Lance. He's not Kyler Murray. He's not Lamar Jackson. But he does have the upside of just throwing the ball a million fucking times a game, which is still great for fantasy football, even if everyone likes to talk about the rushing quarterbacks. At the end of the day, Matthew Stafford still has very much elite upside in fantasy football. After we go with Matthew Stafford comes Pat Freiermuth, Melvin Gordon, who I like a ton as well, Rashad Penny, Chase Claypool, Christian Watson, who I've kind of basically just not really stamped with do not draft. I'm not going into the draft just with a mark on Christian Watson, don't draft him, but I'm kind of like, is he going to be the number 1 receiver? He could be like the number 4 receiver. It just doesn't really seem to me like a pick I really want to be making. After that, Michael Carter, Sky with 2 Ys more, Mike Lickiamagasicki, Allen Robinson, Christian Kirk, the $7 zillion man, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Kadarius Toney, Trey Lance, Cole Kmet, and Deshaun Watson. Do not draft Deshaun Watson. That should be pretty clear at this point, but Sleeper, for some reason, still makes people draft him in the 10th round. I understand if he does play, his upside is immense, right? He really could be a top 5 quarterback when he's healthy, or not when he's healthy. He's been healthy. When he goes ahead and gets the nod to play when he's not suspended, but he's probably going to be suspended for the whole year, so I'm just staying clear away. Right now, we have 3 running backs. We have 4 wide receivers, but really only 3 wide receivers for the start of the season. Here, the running backs aren't super enticing, so I will go with a wide receiver with a lot of upside, and that will be Russell Gage. Russell Gage is definitely the number 3 receiver on the team when Godwin is healthy. But Chris Godwin is not healthy right now and could miss the first couple of games of the season. If that is the case, Russell Gage is going to step into an excellent opportunity. I understand Russell Gage has never really stepped up and filled that immense role that kind of Julio Jones left behind him in Atlanta, but I think Russell Gage is going to potentially have his biggest year yet in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, especially with Rob Gronkowski gone. It would make a lot of sense that Russell Gage is going to be put into the driver's seat here in Tampa Bay. After that, we see Jameson Williams, Isaiah Spiller, Ramondre Stevenson, Derek Carr, James Robinson, Ronald Jones, Michael Gallup, and Hunter Henry. Now, we do have already our quarterback, our tight end. So when I draft a quarterback this highly like Matthew Stafford, I'm perfectly fine just riding with Matthew Stafford until his bye, then you cut someone else, and then you add a new quarterback. Same thing with tight end. I drafted Mark Andrews in the 2nd round. I invested that 2nd round draft capital. There is no way in hell I'm going to be drafting another tight end. Looking at the running back room right now, we are going to be going with a rookie running back in Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce could be the number 1 running back on the Houston Texans. I understand, Nick, the Houston Texans offense kind of sucks a little bit, right? They're not all that good, so how valuable is the running back? They're not going to be super valuable. I understand they're not going to be putting up a zillion points. They're not going to be in a lot of situations where they are running the ball deep down in the game because the game's just over. They've won. They're just running the ball like some good teams, right? They're not going to be doing that. But any running back that is the lead running back on their team has value. And if you can find that in the 11th round, you got to kind of take that shot on them, in my opinion. So we got Dameon Pierce. After that, Rachaad White, Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins, his teammate, Alexander Mattison, Rob Gronkowski, Tyler, Boyd Alexander, no, not Alexander, his name is Albert O. I apologize. Tua Tagovailoa, Rondell Moore, George Pickens, Noah Fant, MVS, Kenny Golladay, Irv Smith, and Jarvis Landry. Back up on the board here, just going to be selecting the best player available at either running back or wide receiver. Here we got Nyheim Hines, Jahan Dotson, Darrell Henderson, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Algier, Tim Patrick, DJ Chark, DJ Chark. For me, we're going to go with Jahan Dotson. I understand the Washington football team offense is far from some offense that you want to be really hitching yourself to, but I do think Carson Wentz is definitely better than Taylor Heineke, and there's been a lot of positive reports out of camp early on Jahan Dotson, and he did get that 1st round draft capital, even if people didn't think he should have been selected in the 1st round. So I'm fine taking Dotson here after Dotson, Algier, David Njoku, Tim Patrick, Nyheim Hines, Jacoby Myers, Justin Fields, Darrell Henderson, Marlon Mack. Also a fine shot to take on the Houston backfield. He hasn't really been the same since that injury a couple years ago, but I understand why you might want to take him. We got one more bench spot, and then we have our kicker and our defense spot. I actually think that you don't have to draft a kicker or a defense on Sleeper. If you do on your website, then you definitely want to be taking a kicker or a defense. If not, you can go ahead and just fill out the bench spots. But for the sake of today's video, we will talk about draft strategy when it comes to kicker and defense. So we have a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers. So we got to take another running back. And then reminder, since we drafted D-Hop, you can just put him on the IR after the draft and then pick up another player. So we're here up on the board. I like J.D. McKissic because I talked about it. I think J.D. McKissic is going to be pretty involved in Washington, but I want to go for that high upside play. I want to go for the guy that might be the number 1 running back on his team magically, could be becoming the guy, and I think that could be Raheem Mostert. I love Chase Edmonds. Don't get me wrong. I love Chase Edmonds, but that discount on Raheem Mostert, but Nick, he always gets hurt. I understand that, but I think Raheem Mostert could take over in this backfield, and with the amount the Dolphins could be running, his upside could be immense in Miami. So after Raheem Mostert comes J.D. McKissic, DJ Chark, Tyler Higbee, Kenneth Gainwell, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Tucker the fucker, Evan McPherson, Khalil Herbert, Matty Ice Baby, a bunch of kickers after that. So we're going to go with our kicker first, and we're going to go ahead and select the man, the myth, the legend, Rodrigo Blankenship. After that, a bunch of kickers. And then for defense, the strategy is just to draft the best defense, not on the season. Not a defense you see, oh, they're going to be great this year. You want to draft a defense that is playing a not-so-hard opponent week 1. And then guess what? In week number 2, if they have a hard opponent, you take them, you dribble it around, you throw them over the edge of a cliff. You don't need them. You don't need them anymore, so you want to go ahead and get that defense that just has the best matchup week 1. Every week, you're going to want to be streaming defenses. So we'll go with the best defense available, the Washington Commanders. If they have a hard matchup week 1, then it is what it is, because I already explained the draft strategy and how I believe you should be drafting the defenses. So if Washington has a hard opponent, then it is what it is, right? We would have picked a different defense once I figure all that out. So our roster, as you can see right next to me, was comprised of Matthew Stafford, Travis Etienne, Cordero Patterson, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews, Jerry Jeudy, Rodrigo Blankenship, the Washington Commanders defense, DeAndre Hopkins, Devin Singletary, Russell Gage, Damian Pierce, Jahan Dotson, and Raheem Mostert. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of this team. I think that we did an excellent job drafting from the number 5 overall spot. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Make sure you use promo code AWESOMO on Underdog if you guys do decide to check them out. I'm on there all the time drafting. I love you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy!